Hey, Nation, Harry here. I am back in Seattle after some extensive travels. It's only a brief pause before we hit the late October, November technology conference scene, but back in the home office. And we are also back with Marc Haskelson. Marc, are you coming to us from New York today?
Yep, it's one of the rare occasions I'm back in New York before, same as you. I get go back on the road for about 2 weeks to tech conferences.
Amen. All right. Well, what do you know? Hey, Marc, I want to follow up. Last time or recently, we started a conversation where you coined the term business solution provider, BSP, and you kind of define, where the white line is, the yellow line, the guardrails, and so on. Want to take it a little bit different direction about how vendors can help make you more business oriented. And this is a topic that's interesting to me because for so many years in the SMB nation, early SBS days, vendors were often thought of as the enemy. We were sort of this populist uprising, changing the world. We matured. There's consolidation in both the vendor community and the MSP community. So now vendors are actually considered a partner. What say you on vendors making a MSP a BSP?
So I think there are still many vendors that also do not fully understand the value of BSP, but there are definitely a group of vendors that are recognizing, and whether you want to talk the concept of sell through or sell to with the MSPs, but for example, and I'll use compliance group as an indicator, because we are a direct player, right? So we have we have over 100,000 direct clients. We're in a position where we know what's going on with the end client's challenges and needs. And although I think we're a little unique because of what we do, but I think many vendors that I speak to, and when I speak to the vendors in let's say in our sessions, when a vendor to vendor scenario, one of the big frustrations we have is we have tremendous content around what the end client is grappling with, and the why, for example, just explaining the technology is let's say addressing the symptoms. But if you use the vendor, and I'm not saying you have to get the vendor in front of your client, I'm just saying understand and look at folks like Datto that have tremendous resources to you. The vendors themselves, some of us are getting very smart about creating tool sets specifically designed to help an MSP communicate better with their client, understand more their business problem, and then being able to take that business problem and turn it into a revenue opportunity, right? Because all of the vendors, we're in the same boat. If we don't help the MSP sell the product, right, we don't get any sales either. So one of the things that I think is, and I think there's two areas that come into this, is one, there's a lot of background on who the clients are, what their problems are. Think of that as marketing opportunity, right? And then the other side of it is, once you're starting to engage, often what I see is the mistake an MSP makes is they take a shot at something they really don't know that much about. And often the client can be extremely knowledgeable about the issue, right? So if you take a weak shot at it and the client is very knowledgeable about that particular problem, think of, let's say, in the world of healthcare or compliance in that arena, it's a billing challenge. It shows up to a MSP as a security issue, but the client knows a ton about this. This is how they get paid. So if the MSP can speak to the language, understanding what the issue is, and the vendor can give that to them, then they look much smarter in front of the client. The client feels comfortable. They see a solution provider, not someone just selling, a line item service that sounds to the end client like you don't understand my business.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. A thought just popped into my head on this topic, probably the BSP concept in general. But Marc, I guess I'm kind of viewing the flight to the business speak, call it a flight to quality, as they like to say in real estate leasing. I also am just thinking out loud here that it's a little bit of a hedge strategy, as you have number one, technology maturity. Number two, on CNBC off camera, you have just a plethora of economists saying, in our lifetime, there will be another recession. The date to be determined. And I look at this as a little bit of a hedge strategy about how do you stay relevant with the client. Does that make sense? That you got to add value, man?
Well, and I agree 100%. And you know, there's a lot of data from a lot of different angles, but in the end, I think we're all realistic. I'm sorry, we cannot deny that the days of I need an IT person to help me deploy a piece of technology, research it, choose it, deploy it, integrate it, is not really true anymore, right? You know, you can go
Yep.
online, you can choose a marketing, a billing, whether it's QuickBooks or HubSpot, and you can do all that, you know, with just a credit card for all intents and purposes. So
Yep.
that relevancy, you know, and in my opinion, and I think there's more players that are beginning to back this, the value all of us bring to our clients is it's easy for them to go online and do research about tech, right? The value is which is the right piece of tech, right? Now that I'm going to configure it, how is it going to play with the other pieces of technology I have? And I think this is a unique opportunity for the MSP. You know, and look at, let's say, think of the Salesforce ecosystem, right? You buy
Yeah.
Salesforce, it comes with almost nothing in it, right? You need to, there's a whole integration infrastructure. So I think that that model is coming more forward for the MSP, and that if they start talking to their client not about, hi, I'm here to make sure that, you know, your phone is working or your firewall is up, and more about like, look, you spend a lot of time on the phone, and you know, you probably should have a different VoIP because the firewall is restricting the speed. And by the way, end client wouldn't understand any of that. What they hear is I'm
Right.
having a phone quality issue. Who am I supposed to yell at? Right now they're yelling at, let's say, a VoIP provider or their internet provider. Really what they would be much better served is, hey, an MSP who can come in and say, no, 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 what you think is that problem, I understand all of the combination of the different pieces of technology you have, and I can identify that this particular challenge is originating not with the speed of your internet, but with a problem with X, right? And that kind of solution approach makes you much more valuable. It means you get to charge more money. It means they're not going to want to get rid of you, especially during a recession, right? You don't, you know, you're so many of this is one of the things that I often say to let's say MSPs. If you only focus on the tech, you are focusing on only an expense line item for me, right? Which
Yeah.
means when the crap hits the fan, I cut expense items, right? But if you are tied into making sure that the way I make my money, right, my marketing platforms, my CRMs, my phone systems, if you're on that angle of it, now I can't cut you, nor do I want to cut you. I want to put more money into you because you're helping me grow my business. You're now tied to the revenue stream. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of MSPs, they think only defensive, and they forget that almost every business, just like yours and mine, it
Yep.
starts off with where's the money coming from? And that's where I think MSPs should be plugging into rather than the back end, you know, just the security component or making sure the lights are on.
Well, with that, I can't top that. With that said, on screen number 2, I have Dynamics 365 with my opportunity module open. So maybe I better figure out where the money's coming from. But Marc, hey, we'll see you on the road. Hopefully in the next couple weeks. Couple big shows coming up: IT Nation, Ingram One, a few others, folks. Shows on top of shows. But Marc, thank you very much, and we'll
Thank
talk
you
to
very
you
much,
next
Aaron.
month. All
Have a
right,
great
take
day.
care.
Bye-bye.